City Council meeting order, 12 o'clock, Tuesday, January 15th. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Well, we gotta do the roll call first, because otherwise.
First?
Yeah.
Why am I so out of order?
Well, I didn't ask for it because I was goofed up.
Nelson?
Yes.
Knapp?
Yep.
Rexico? Yes. Goodchild?
Yes.
Wick?
Yes.
Now you can do it.
Oh, motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna go right into the hearings. At December 18, 2018 meeting, council set this the date and time to hear public comment regarding amendments to chapter 155, building code construction regulations adopted by the NEC 2017. Addition adopted by the state of Iowa. The mayor pro tem opens the hearings and asks for written oral objections to the amendment. So I'm opening the hearing. Is there any written oral objections, or has anybody got any objections in writing? I believe all the electrical contractors are still totally busy right now, so I doubt if they even have any comments. Second call. Anybody else? We're gonna close the hearing, turn it over to staff. Any comments by the staff, or are we gonna just go vote?
I would just vote.
I make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 951, amending chapter 155, building and construction regulations, NEC 2017 edition.
Second. Roll call please, Steph?
Rexico?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Knapp?
Yes.
Wick?
Yes?
Goodchild?
Yes.
We're gonna skip the second and third because we'll do it next time. Citizens' comments.
Excuse me, good afternoon, council. Just a quick follow-up from my last, 2 weeks ago, my, code enforcement and building, year-end report. It was discussed or asked if I could provide, and show what kind of, urban revitalization, the tax exemptions have taken place since its inception. So in front of you is a running list that I keep, and I update, which includes the 3 applicants' addresses from today's meeting that will be likely approved. With a total beginning from 2012 to today's date, we have 167 applicants that have applied for and received the tax exemption on the first 75,000. So that's just a running total I keep, and I just thought it was brought up last month or last week. So I just thought I'd print off an updated copy and present it to you guys so you can take a look at it. So
Excellent, thank you, Greg, because I requested that. I see 28 of the 167 have fallen off, gone into full taxation, so, you know, it's good news.
yep, and the expiration year is just an approximate. I'm just adding the 5 years from the day it was turned in to
Yep.
5 years later. So it may not be 100% accurate, but it gives you a general ballpark idea. So
Sounds good,
It'd
thanks
be
for
nice
doing
to
that.
have this attached to your report every year then. But if-
yeah, next
Next year, put it on.
I will have it on next year's report. Yes, I will.
It is good information.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, anybody else in the citizens? I would individually single them out, but that would be odd. Thumbs up, Mr.
You know, I've got absolutely nobody representing my interests in the Super Bowl, but go Kansas City. I hate to see New England get in there again. Thumbs up Kansas City.
You've got quite a few on your side right now.
That's what I
Mr. Wick, got anything besides refereeing?
Since my Chicago Bears fell just slightly doinked out, I'm gonna join him and go Chiefs as well.
Okay, so we have two chiefs on that side, okay. I don't think I really wanna add to that. I think my thumbs up was said right before the meeting. We have two outstanding individuals, one for the fire department, one for the police department. And we are just lucky as heck that we've got the greatest people we do in both the police and fire department, so.
Agreed.
Amen. Mr. Rexwinkle, you got anything besides, is it warmer down there? No. No. Okay.
My advice to him is don't come home this weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
It's gonna be really cold.
That's what I understand, yes.
Anything?
That's it.
Okay. We're gonna go through the consent agenda. Those are items we can all vote together unless we have questions. Questions are always welcome. The first is the approval of the January 2nd, 2019 regular minutes. List of bills, 1/11/19. Monthly financial statements for December of 18. Renewal of liquor license, beer license, wine permit, family table, The Brew, and Pizza Hut. And then, as Greg mentioned, urban revitalization tax exempt request for those projects completed. Any questions on any of those?
Motion approved, consent items 1 through 5. Second.
Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The action items have none. That got a 5-0 vote. Everybody's in favor of that. The discussion, council mayor. We'll start with Kenny.
Nothing today.
John, you got anything today?
Nothing.
Okay. Mr. Clark?
No, I'm good. I think I'm good.
Okay. And then Whit?
Just a reminder of the odd even parking with the upcoming snow coming in. Just remember which side of the street to park on. Good reminder.
And, how about Mr. Murphy? You got anything to add this, or are you getting us in trouble or not?
Nothing today.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, but speaking to the microphone. We'll go to Jason.
Let's let Dave give his annual report first.
Well, I appreciate there being no action items, so I got all the time I need today, so I appreciate that to start with. Put the gavel down, Rex.
Make sure you got the camera on him in case we doze off.
Been a good day so far, so I'll try to keep it that way. In front of you, you should have a copy of the 2018 annual report. That picture on the front page was house fire out here on Muskrat. That was my on-scene arrival picture, and a little behind the 8 ball on that one. The next page is the current members. As of January 2019, we have 31 members. That's the list of those folks and their ranks and titles and things like that. On the right is all the different extra things that we help with besides fires and rescue stuff. The third page is our call total for the year, 501 total calls for service. And then it's broke down by city, rural, and mutual aid, and then farther down, those calls are broken down into what type of call they were, and then the total dollar amount loss. Some of those, of course, we don't have exact losses on; those are estimates for fire damage in a year.
Up, down, or same?
Actually, it's down.
No.
It's actually down. We were doing really well, even in the rural, until that house fire in November kind of shot us in the foot. That was over 600,000 of the rural money right there in one call. So it doesn't take much once you get a call for a lot of damage to occur, but we're doing really well last year. The next page is just kind of a graph of call comparisons over the years from 2014 to 2018. As you can see, we're up from last year, 433, to this year, 501 for call totals. And then the next graph shows a breakdown of those calls. Depending on how the weather goes is kind of how our rural stuff fluctuates. So if it's a drier year, then we have issues more so than in wetter springs and falls. Our city calls were up compared to last year. Our mutual aids are running about the same, and that's when we go to another community or go help them out. So we're staying pretty steady there. And then the last one is chief investigations, and that's when we have a duty person or myself or one of the chief officers go out where we don't call the whole department to. Sometimes we struggle with that because depending on how the 911 comm center takes the phone call, we're trying to get them that, you know, if it's a carbon monoxide check at 3 in the morning, to call the chief officer and not set off the pagers for 30 guys to get out of bed. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. If we have a complaint of a fire pit in the backyard, you know, we try to take those calls without paging 30 people to a fire pit in the backyard, but that tends to happen every now and then, and they'll trip everybody out for basically one of us needing to go up and tell the guy to put a screen on his fire pit. So, you know, we're trying to get a better handle on those, but we did have 88 of those last year. The next page shows a lot of the other stuff we do other than emergencies. We had 183 inspections we conducted for the year. That's on new and existing construction. As you recall, we do the inspections of the schools, the daycares, the pride homes, and the state does not come in and do those because we are certified, and we can do those on our own. So we do those inspections and keep the inspection revenue right here in town. Training sessions conducted was 92. We offered 92 different trainings between state schools and then the in-house trainings we do on Wednesday night. Myself or the assistant chief attended 261 meetings last year. So sometimes those are 2 or 3 a day, depending on what's going on. We did 72 classes for businesses or industries or groups here in town. We ended up training 618 people, and that could be as far as in CPR, fire extinguishers, first aid, emergency medical response, EMT, that kind of thing. We did 29 talks to school children, and we reached out to 505 kids, actually spoke to them face to face, and then another 1,000 kids got the handouts that we have businesses so generously donate money to buy every year. That's the color books and the helmets and the stickers. Our pancake breakfast, we hosted, we had 540 people show up. Actually made a good little profit on that, which we don't aim to do, but when you get that many people to show up, it works out that way. Our fire training trailer, that's our semi-trailer that we use for our SCBA mass self-confidence course and things. We actually used that at WIT last year again and put 34 new firefighters through that. One of the big things that stands out in my mind this year, we had 5 people leave. So if you look there, we have retirements, resignations. We had 5 people leave this year. Keith Hetwer, who was a captain on our department for 37 years. Mark Garnett actually ended up retiring at 24 years. And then Drew Pick, Stacy Ruiz, and Austin all had other work issues or moved out of the state. But we were able to fill those back with 4 people. So last year we had 32 people. This year we're at 31. And I think the 4 new members that we've put on since those 5 left are doing very well. We've got a couple of them in fire training classes. Dan Rexlinkle, you know him. We picked him up. He already had his fire training certification when he moved over here from Akron, so that was an easy fit. He's doing real well for us. At the bottom of that page, we show what we bought with donated money, and you guys kind of know how much money we bring in donations every year. We really appreciate the support from the community on that. The next page is just donated hours, 550 total donated hours on top of everything else we do. And there's some of the things that we did as far as the fair, the YMCA triathlon, officers meetings. We do an officer meeting every month, and those gentlemen come in and do that. We had 4 people do 160 hours and pass their EMT class. We did pay for the class, and we're reimbursed partial tuition for each of those 4 by the county EMS association. So that was about $2,800, almost $3,000 for those 4 guys, and we got $6,300 back. So we got about half our money back through the county EMS association. And then the next pages are a few pictures. There's a picture of Keith there. He retired, as I said, after 37 years. Mark Garnett's retired after 24 years. Ethan Mitchell, who is our special ops firefighter, he was selected as firefighter of the year last year. Ethan made 42 of the 44 training sessions in 2017, and 60% of the calls and other things he helped out with, so he was selected as the 2018 firefighter of the year. And then the last two pages are just picture pages of different calls we had, or training sessions, or incidents. I kind of put that together just for the guys in the department. They like to look at those pictures and reminisce back and remember the calls they were on and some of the training sessions that they did and things like that. I would be remiss if I didn't do a few thank yous. First of all, thank you to Mayor and Council and Administration for your support of the Fire and Rescue Department again. Both support as far as financially and emotionally and everything else. We really do appreciate that. I have to thank the employers of this community, who are great employers that let their people leave sometimes twice a day, sometimes 4 times a day if need be, for emergency calls. They are what help make this city what it is by allowing their people to do that. That also allows us to keep our budgets down and not have as many full-time people as some other communities our size do. When you look at comparisons, we probably have the least amount of full-time people and the least budget because of salaries, because our people are allowed to leave work, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the employers. I want to thank the other city, oh, I'm sorry.
And sometimes better equipment.
Absolutely.
Than some of
Absolutely.
those towns that spend
Absolutely.
money.
And that's where you council come in. You know, we've been able to purchase fire trucks over the years, and we've been able to purchase some other things based on very good financially stable community here in town, and how we buy things and how we purchase things, and we've been able to work things out in a couple budget years or things like that without raising taxes or bonding for equipment out through the roof. You know, I know different communities like Indianola, when you have a tax levy of $20.80 because you've had to bond for everything, buy all kinds of stuff. We don't have that problem here, and that's a good thing. I want to thank the other city departments. They work well with us, streets, parks. You know, we help wastewater, they help us. We help with the water department. They keep us informed when we have fire hydrants down or water main breaks. So I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the other city departments. And then, of course, my staff. I've got the best fire department in Iowa. I got the best group of people. They make me look good. They make our city look good. We're known across the state of Iowa because of the things we do here. We constantly get calls of, you know, how do you guys take care of this in your community, or how do you guys handle these situations, or what kind of equipment did you buy to take care of this problem we're seeing in the state? So I would be remiss if I didn't thank our staff and my staff. And then, of course, the wives and the spouses. Boy, they put up with a lot, with people leaving birthday parties and leaving suppers and leaving Christmas, as we talked about Christmas Eve, when you have 4 fire calls in about an hour span on Christmas Eve. And then we have a couple on Christmas Day, Thanksgiving. You know, I really appreciate it, because without strong families and strong, you know, homes, we couldn't be the department we are either. And I can't tell those spouses and significant others thanks enough for missing birthdays, and there's 3 o'clock in the mornings, and they get woke up in the middle of the night just like we do, sometimes 2 or 3 times a night. So I'm saying that on behalf of myself, for my wife, if you're listening, honey, if you're out there listening, and everybody else's significant others. So any questions on my report? We had a good year. We had 1 injury this year, which was the first in my 9 years. We had an individual severely lacerate his hand, lost use of his hand for about 3 months, and had to have major reconstructive surgery. Had all his protective clothing on, and we were at a building where we were pulling tin, and it sliced right through his fire gloves, and it was a bad situation, but he has recovered now. Is back on the department, but it took him out for about 3 months. And our motto is everybody goes home. So we try to make sure that our firefighters, thanks to your help as a council, have the best equipment and the best training we can give them to return them to their significant others and their families. And so we've done pretty well in the last 9 years since I've been chief of making sure that happens. But we're handling a lot more calls, a lot more dangerous situations compared to what we used to. And so we got to continue to strive to stay better and keep getting better.
were there lessons, are we gaining lessons from the accident over Clinton? Have you had a report back on that explosion and exactly?
Yeah, I've been in touch with Mike Brown, the chief there. He comes to our chief's meetings, great guy, great department. You know, it's a high-risk job, and things are gonna happen sometimes that are unfortunate. And, you know, we pray every day that that doesn't happen. I have God be with me written on the inside of my helmet, and every time I put it on, I read that, take a breath before we start getting started on incidents and things. And that's a situation where we have training on those type of elevator fires and things you should do and shouldn't do. And I'm not gonna second guess what they were doing up on top of that or what actions they were taking, because I just don't know the whole gist yet, Ken. But there will be an OSHA investigation and a NIOSH study that will come out on that. Every firefighter fatality has that nationwide, and we do get those, and I do read through those with, and they're accessible to my staff too, of, you know, you learn from mistakes hopefully, and if there were any made at this point, we'll learn from that. We don't know yet. Maybe they were doing everything right. You can, in this job, you can still do everything right and have something go terribly wrong. You know, that's the true definition of an accident. And it's happened to our department throughout the years. We had a hand injury this year. I can remember other calls and situations where we've had firefighters, or even Bev's husband at one point years ago, you know, and sometimes you can be doing everything right and then things go wrong. So when you think about it, when we show up, we're trying to get control of total chaos. And that's the tough part. You gotta get control of that total chaotic scene. And that's what we strive to do and do it safely. And so, yeah, we will be researching that when that report comes out to see, you know, what went on and make sure that we don't duplicate that if there were issues or mistakes or problems.
How are you doing on confined spaces?
Confined spaces are going good. I actually just met with the Sioux Center Fire Chief yesterday, and he's getting me names and facility contact numbers up there now. I think what we're finding out, Clark, is a lot of these facilities just automatically put down their local fire department. Don't ever go check with them to see if they could provide the service. So there's gonna be some more of those coming up here in the future, and now that I got Steve on board every day, it's gonna make it a little easier for me to go do those. But I'm looking probably within, hopefully by July, next July here coming, I can double what we've brought in so far.